Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply, and this video is to bring you a closer look at the Gulfport number FR380A. This is a multi-purpose adjustable anchor. This type of anchor can really be used as steel stud, wood stud, existing opening. It can be used for any of those. A small amount of work on this would easily make it into what I would have called once upon a time a Z anchor. So here's what this anchor, and then it's a multi functional anchor, and that it can be doubled up. So let's just start at the beginning. An FR380A is this single standalone anchor. It is 5 3/4 jam depth. I should say it's 4 5 3/4 jam depth frames. You see that dimension is just heavy on 5 3/4. You get that in the frame and you just get it in place, and then if you have to tap it down with a hammer, you go ahead and do so. You have the ability to run a sleeve anchor through your frame, out through the back and into the wall. We would get this placed into the frame, and then most people leave them loose. I always like to tack weld them to get them down to the frame. A couple of reasons. You can't forget them when you send your frames to the job, and the other reason is you can't forget them when you send frames to the job when they're welded to the throat of the frame. I like having them in there permanently. People with existing wall anchors, I think they generally would expect it to be welded in as well. I've seen butterfly anchors that are made for existing opening, and they're just snapped in loose. You know, those frames get bounced around, you know, turned over, placed down, you know, slid against each other, you know, handholds. You know, you can knock those anchors loose easily. There's not really much to them. But I like to get an anchor, any anchor, when it can be welded into the throat, absolutely do so. Even T anchors, there's an option that you can weld them. They have strap and yoke. Strap and yoke would be the name of a weldable T anchor, which is great. You've got a strap that's very long, and then you have a yoke that has a slot in it, and that rides inside of the strap, and it will accommodate. That height of that strap is enough to accommodate wherever it falls into the course of block or whatever, of course, a block as they're laying it. And I'm really a fan of not having to drive back to the job site because I forgot the box of anchors. It does happen occasionally. Everybody forgets an anchor once in a while. So this can be an existing opening anchor. If you're going to do that, you're probably going to want to maybe do some slight modification, maybe cut it here. If you want to throw a tiny tack weld back there, I suppose you could. You could also just bend it and break it. You know, you're going to have to do something to it. Folding it back is really maybe not an option without cutting it and bending it back around. If you're going to use this as a wood stud anchor, well, that's obvious. You're just going to take that and you're going to bend those ears forward, and that's how you're going to anchor it, right to the end of the stud. If you're going to use it as a metal stud anchor, you can cut these off and then run the stud with tech screws or mini screws right into the back of this flange. I like doing that a lot. Welding that anchor makes a lot of sense as well, so that you don't lose it. But what's really nice about that Z-style anchor is you place your frame in the opening, you shoot it to the ground, and then you bring your studs up to it. Okay, and you take that stud, and it's going to ever so slightly sneak in behind the back end of the frame. These straps are gone, and this preparation here will allow the wall material to slide in so that it penetrates into the throat of the frame, which of course is a requirement for NFPA 80. And it works just really great in any of those instances. There's a fourth way you can use this. Take two of them. This is for 5 3/4. If you were going to manipulate this for 4 3/4, you're going to have to get in here and you're going to have to slice this back. Maybe just cut this off and then weld the rest of it in. And you can still make it work. In a pinch, you could cut that back for 4 3/4. If you need to get a larger jam depth, order two of these. The way it's going to simply work, and you'll see some information in there, the way it's simply going to work is I'll hold it towards you. I'm going to bring my second anchor, and I'm just going to put it right behind. So what jam depth do I have? Well, I'm dealing with 7 1/4. Okay, not uncommon, 7 1/4. A 6-inch metal stud, 2 layers of 5/8, 7 1/4. You could easily have that. So depending on where you put these two pieces together, and these little tabs have these compression wings on them. These two little tabs, via those compression wings, when you put those together, and if you get in there and you hammer them down or squeeze them down, if you've got gloves on, you'll be able to permanently connect the two together, well, semi-permanently connect the two together. Now you've got a frame that's going to act the same way that you need it to, regardless of the application. If you're dealing with wider frames, like an 8 3/4 frame, okay, it would not be unheard of to have 2 bolts, although that would be incredibly atypical for you to have that. And plus it would be atypical for them to be not in the same horizontal line. So if you're going to be stacking these anchors, you are literally doing wood stud or you're doing metal stud is what you're doing. So this will, they say, get you out to 9-inch. When I put this anchor together this way, yeah, sure, you can make it work for something up to 9-inch, but it tells you there that this is for up to 8 3/4. Basically from here to over here is just shy of 9-inch. Okay, so that will certainly work. And that's what this very capable anchor is used for. Any of those 3 primary applications. Then if you need to do a deeper frame, go with 2 of the anchors together. Why you may not use those anchors all the time in any instances, they're not the least expensive way to go. A multi-purpose anchor is always going to be more expensive than a dedicated anchor. There will be more work required to make it multi-purpose. So if you're dealing with supplying hollow metal frames, you generally have anchors of every single type in every size that you might necessarily need. But in a pinch, it's not bad to have 100 of these laying around, because that'll get you out of trouble, needing to put some frames installed. Okay. Now, there is a link below this video to the manufacturer's page where you can pull up not only all of the Gulfport products that we sell, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full product catalog. If you have any questions on the Gulfport FR380A 5 3/4 multi-purpose adjustable anchor, or any other Gulfport product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you.